I'm standing in the ruins of what used to be my late wife's dream mansion, the one I built for her after she lost her long battle with cancer 6 years ago. Just yesterday, in 6 brutal hours, bulldozers turned $4. $2 million worth of love and memories into dust while I was in D.C. on official state business. The air still reeks of diesel fuel and crushed drywall, with twisted rebar jutting up like broken bones from the ground. Over there, the infinity pool she sketched in her final days lies cracked wide open, water spilling uselessly down the ravine. At 6:47 a.m. that morning, the email arrived. Demolition authorized for $38,000 in unpaid HOA fines. Unpaid. That was Vivian Pritchard's lie. I'd paid every single cent, twice over, in fact, with receipts, canceled checks, and even approvals from her own architectural committee, all carefully saved and documented. What Vivian never saw coming was that 3 weeks earlier, I had been sworn in as governor of this state. If an HOA ever demolished your dream home over lies, drop a comment below. What would you do? And tell me where you're watching from, because this is exactly how you take down a tyrant who just made the most expensive mistake of her life. Let me take you back 6 years. My wife Elaine was an architect, the kind who sketched entire buildings on napkins during dinner, who could stare at a bare hillside and already see the home that belonged there. When ovarian cancer hit, she fought it fiercely for 18 months. In those final weeks, lying in a hospital bed with morphine clouding the pain, she drew me a house. Not just any house, but our dream home perched at 7,200 feet on a mountain, with floor-to-ceiling windows facing the Continental Divide. She wanted salvaged timber from old barns, wood that still carried the scent of a century of summers and winters, every beam scarred with stories from families who'd lived under it before. She sketched the infinity pool extending toward the valley like it was falling right into the sky. "Build it," she told me 3 days before she passed. "Promise me you'll build it." I was 51 then, an appellate court judge. No kids, suddenly no wife. So I did exactly that. I spent 2 years hunting down every piece of reclaimed timber sheet specified. The cedar from a Montana barn that still smelled faintly of mountain air, the river rock for the massive fireplace. I can still hear the dry click-clack of those stones settling into place, like nature's own quiet applause. There was the custom steel and glass atrium she called the mountain's breath, designed to catch the wind and make it sing through the house. When it was finally finished, I moved in. Ridgemont Estates was an upscale, gated community 90 minutes from the state capital. 340 homes, peaceful, private. That peace lasted about 8 months before I met Vivian Pritchard. She was 61, blonde hair lacquered into a helmet that could probably survive a Category 5 hurricane, always draped in turquoise jewelry like she was single-handedly supporting every Southwest gift shop. She drove a white Cadillac Escalade with vanity plates reading HOE Press, because subtlety clearly wasn't her thing. HOA president for 9 consecutive years, with no one daring to run against her. Wonder why? Her husband Garrett, a retired state trooper who still carried his badge like he was expecting to make an arrest at the community pool, handled security consulting for the HOA. Trouble started when I repainted the exterior trim in smoky quartz, the soft gray Elaine had specified. The architectural committee approved it in writing. 3 weeks later, Vivian showed up at my door like a turquoise-draped angel of bureaucratic death. "That color is not approved." I showed her the email, the paint code, their signatures. She glanced at it like I'd handed her a parking ticket from 1987. The committee was mistaken. I'm overriding them. I paid the $500 fine and repainted. I was still a sitting judge, had to be careful about public conflicts, but Vivian was just getting started. Over the next 10 months, the fines arrived like clockwork. Driveway lights excessive. Native wildflowers I'd planted to prevent erosion labeled unapproved landscaping. She wanted turf grass at 7,200 feet, where grass needs more water than a rice paddy. My housekeeper Lucia's 15-year-old Toyota called a commercial vehicle. That last one revealed the real pattern. Lucia was from Guatemala, a 40-something mother of 3. Yes, citizen born in El Paso. Vivian stopped her at the gate 3 times, demanded ID, asked about documentation. The third time, she sent me a formal letter. Domestic staff must park in designated service areas. There were no service areas. I responded in writing that it was discriminatory. Her reply, I don't see color. I see violations. By month 10, I paid $34,000 in fines. Every one documented, receipts saved, canceled checks filed, emails proving the committee had approved everything she later declared violations. Then I won the governor's race. 3 weeks after inauguration, I flew to D.C. for a mandatory conference. Day 3, my phone buzzed at 6:47 a.m. Subject line, final notice, lien foreclosure and demolition authorization. I had 4 hours before they started. I was 1,800 miles away. I called my lawyer from a hotel bathroom, try not to wake my chief of staff. Emergency injunction, now. Tobias, courts don't open for 2 hours. You're in D.C. Even if I wake a judge, you're the governor now. Every judge either worked with you or wants something from you. This will look like abuse of office. He was right. Damn it. My neighbor Dale called 60 seconds later, a retired dentist with steadier hands than mine right then. There are bulldozers at your gate. Through the phone I heard it. Diesel engines, backup beeps, metal treads crunching the gravel lane, and I had spread by hand. Film everything, especially Vivian. Already am. The video arrived 3 minutes later. The excavator's claw punching through a lane's atrium. Glass exploding in showers of light. Timber beams, each tagged with her handwriting, snapping like twigs. And Vivian in her white pantsuit, arms crossed, sunglasses on. When part of the pool broke off and tumbled into the ravine, she smiled. Dale caught that smile. I forwarded it to my lawyer. Evidence saved. I made 2 calls. First to Mariana Soto, a civil rights attorney who just won $12 million against a sheriff's department for racial profiling. If anyone understood what Vivian did to Lucia, it was her. I saw the news. I'm so sorry. Don't be sorry. Be angry. Tomorrow morning, 6 a.m., I'll be there. Second to Kurt Bellamy, 67, land use attorney who'd argued 4 cases before the state Supreme Court. Tobias, I watched it on the news. That woman just violated about 6 statutes. How many can we prove? All of them. I'll meet you there. I chartered a flight, midnight landing in Denver, 90-minute drive through darkness. Pulled up at 2 a.m. to what used to be my driveway. The smell was worse in person. Diesel, crushed drywall, that chemical sting coating your throat. I swept my flashlight over the wreckage. They'd been thorough, efficient, but Elaine had been smarter. Buried 18 inches under the master bedroom was a fireproof safe. Her idea. Every architect needs a vault for originals. I dug through rubble until my hands found it. Combination, our anniversary. Still worked. Inside. Her sketches, material lists, notes in precise architect handwriting. And beneath those, my ammunition. Every receipt, every canceled check for every fine I'd paid, every email from the committee approving what Vivian overruled. My father prosecuted criminals for 30 years. He used to say the bad guys always make the same mistake. They think paperwork is boring, but boring wins trials. Vivian had just handed me a trial. Mariana arrived at 6 a.m. in steel-toed boots, carrying a crime scene camera. Kurt showed up 10 minutes later in a pickup, legal pads under his arm like he was heading into court. We walked the perimeter. Mariana shot 200 photos. Kurt took notes, muttering statute numbers like incantations. This is the cleanest HOA violation I've seen in 40 years, he said, crouching by a chunk of foundation. No certified mail, no hearing, demolition during a 4-hour window while the owner was out of state on official business. He looked up. You know what this is? A civil rights attorney's dream and an HOA president's nightmare. Good, I said. By 8 a.m., news crews arrived. Vivian had invited them, wanting her victory lap. There she was in her pressed white pantsuit, giving Channel 7 her statement. No one is above the law, not even a governor. Mr. Kendrick refused to pay legitimate fines. We followed our procedures to the letter. This is about fairness and accountability. I waited until she finished, then walked into frame. The anchor's face lit up. Governor Kendrick, I wasn't expecting my house demolished with 4 hours notice while I was in Washington serving my state. I pulled out folded notes, the kind I used to make on the bench. Here's what most people don't know about HOA law. It's actually pretty fair. Before foreclosure or demolition, they must send 30 days written notice via certified mail, hold a hearing, let the owner present evidence. I got an email at 6:47 yesterday. Demolition at 9. I was 1,800 miles away. No hearing, no certified mail, just 4 hours. The anchor turned to Vivian. Mrs. Pritchard, can you respond? Her smile was gone. This is a private HOA matter. You made it public when you invited cameras. I held up the stack of canceled checks. $34,000. Every fine paid. Here are the receipts, and the other $4,000 your own committee approved in writing before you overruled them. Kurt stepped forward with a document. This is the HOA's Articles of Incorporation filed with the state. The president cannot override the architectural committee without a full board vote. Did you hold a vote? Silence. Mariana held up her phone. We've got 18 homeowners ready to join a class action. Illegal fines, discriminatory enforcement, demolitions without due process. Want to guess the damages? Vivian climbed into her Escalade, engine roaring, tires kicking gravel as she retreated. The anchor turned back. Governor, what's next? Now we let the legal system work, which is good for everyone, because the law doesn't care if you're a governor or an HOA president. It just cares about what's right. Behind me, Kurt was drafting the lawsuit on his legal pad. Mariana was texting homeowners. We're filing Monday. You in? One by one. Yes, finally, yes. Within 48 hours, Vivian hired a PR firm out of Denver. Suddenly, I was the villain. Conservative websites running op-eds calling me an elitist hypocrite who built a monument to his ego, talk radio segments on my mansion, while I'd campaigned on humble roots. Someone tipped the IRS, probably her team, claiming I'd used campaign funds to build it. Completely false, but audits take months to disprove. My communications director showed me the memes over breakfast. Me in a judge's robe, standing in rubble. Rich governor cries about mansion. What about regular people? Posted hundreds of times by obvious bots. Want me to respond? No, let them think they're winning. Vivian went on a podcast, one of those shows that always sides with the HOA. She spent 40 minutes painting herself as a terrified volunteer. I actually feared for my safety around Mr. Kendrick. He was confrontational, angry, refused to accept rules applied to him. I listened while driving to Kurt's office, sent the file to Mariana, time-stamped at 32 minutes where she claimed I'd verbally threatened her. Mariana texted back. She just committed defamation. Added to the suit. Not yet. Let her keep talking. The next attack came from Garrett. He did a TV interview in his old state trooper uniform. Technically illegal for retired officers, but nobody called it out. The governor's property was a public nuisance. Overgrown weeds, broken fencing. We had complaints from 6 families. I watched in Kurt's conference room, paused, rewound. He's lying. Prove it, Kurt said. So I spent an afternoon knocking on the 6 nearest doors. Results: not one complaint filed. 2 didn't even have line of sight. One elderly widow, Iris, started crying when I asked. Vivian came 3 months ago with a pre-written complaint. Said if I didn't sign, she'd fine me. My rose bushes were 3 inches too tall. Her voice cracked. I was terrified. She handed me a folder. For years of threats, fines for trash cans on the wrong day, holiday lights 2 days late, mailbox the wrong shade of black. Photos Garrett had taken like surveillance. I thought when you became governor, maybe you'd fix this. Then they said you were the problem. I took the folder, told her she'd never be fined again. That night I called Kurt. We're expanding the lawsuit. This is bigger than my house. Already 18 homeowners ready. Want more? Fine. 30. We found 26 with sworn statements. Fines for gardens, fences, paint. One couple owed $8,000 because their teenager's 2004 Honda Civic was aesthetically inappropriate. Kurt compiled 70 pages that read like a crime novel about petty tyranny. Meanwhile, Vivian made a desperate play. She approached State Senator Crosby Hart, my former primary opponent, offering to fund his next campaign if he'd sponsor HOA reform that actually strengthened HOA power. Hart recorded it, sent it to my chief of staff. Thought you should know. Vivian's voice on tape. We need to make it impossible for governors to bully community organizations. These people need to understand we're protecting property values. I saved it. Didn't leak it. Not yet. She's panicking, Mariana said. Panic people make mistakes. Let her panic more. Then Kurt found the smoking gun. He'd requested the HOA's financial records, my legal right as a homeowner. Took 3 weeks to get them. When they arrived, he spent 2 days with a forensic accountant. Called me at 11 p.m. You need to see this. His table was covered in spreadsheets. Your HOA has $340,000 in reserves. Last year, they spent $180,000. Look, $60,000 to Garrett Security Consulting LLC. No contract, no work product. $45,000 to Vivian's daughter's landscaping company for work that looked like a middle schooler's summer job. $75,000 fighting homeowners in court who settled just to escape. This is embezzlement. Correct. HOAs are nonprofits. Officers can't self-deal. Every dollar to her family is a felony. Another page, $127,000 lien on the HOA from a paving company. Work done 18 months ago, never paid. Where'd the money go? Bank statements showed transfers to a Nevada LLC owned by Vivian and Garrett. She'd collected dues for paving, pocketed it. Now the HOA faced foreclosure by the contractor. She didn't demolish my house over fines, I said. She did it because I was about to become governor and she needed me gone before someone audited the books. Kurt nodded. She knew you'd notice eventually. You're a lawyer, a judge. This was always going to come out. So she tried to destroy you first and handed us a federal case. 2 weeks before her deposition, someone broke into my construction trailer where I'd stored Elaine's surviving salvage materials, blueprints, tool chest. The call came at 6 a.m. Your trailer's been vandalized. I drove through dawn fog. Padlock cut clean, door swinging. Inside, Elaine's design journal gone. Her father's tool chest gone. 3 irreplaceable timbers with her handwriting missing. Spray painted across the wall in dripping red. Go back to the Capitol. The paint was still fresh. This happened maybe an hour earlier. I sat on the metal step, head in hands, the first time since the demolition I actually broke. Lucia found me 20 minutes later. Didn't say anything. Just sat beside me on that cold step. After 10 minutes, Miss Elaine would want you to finish this. The sheriff treated it like low-priority vandalism. So I called Rex Dunaway, ex-FBI white-collar specialist. 48 hours, he said. Rex pulled gas station footage 2 miles down the mountain. Garrett's truck at 2:14 a.m., heading from my property's direction. Credit card record. Garrett buying bolt cutters and red spray paint 3 days earlier. Angry people are sloppy, Rex said. But he found something bigger. He'd been tracking Vivian's real estate deals. She'd tried buying my land 3 years running, before the mansion was finished. Offered $1. $2 million. Appraised at $2. $1 million. I ignored her. One email jumped out. Vivian to her business partner 18 months ago. Kendrick won't sell. We need to create motivation. Create motivation. She'd planned this before my governor run. Started manufacturing violations to force me out. When that failed, she saw the election as her window, demolished while I was distracted. The deposition in a Denver law firm was surgical. Mariana started. Mrs. Pritchard, you've stated you followed all procedures. Let's review the demolition vote. How many board members voted? Unanimously. The board has 5 members. Minutes show 3 present. 2 submitted affidavits, saying they were never notified. How is 3 out of 5 unanimous? Vivian shifted. They were notified. They forgot. So 2 board members are lying under oath. Her attorney, don't answer. Mariana slid an email across. This is from you. Kendrick is running for governor. We need him out. Find a reason. Can you explain? Color drained from her face. That was out of context. What context makes find a reason to remove a homeowner acceptable? Silence. Another email projected. Mr. Kendrick would bring protesters, media trash if elected. We needed him gone. Correct. He was ruining the community. Her voice rose. His staff, his visitors, people like him think they can move in and change everything. He didn't respect our traditions. You wouldn't understand. You people never do. The room froze. Mariana, Latina, composed, set her pen down slowly. Excuse me. You people. Long silence. Vivian's attorney stood. We're taking a break. While Vivian spiraled, I met with Hector Ruiz, structural engineer, an old law school friend. We've got a problem, he said in his office, that smelled like coffee and blueprint toner. The contractor didn't follow EPA protocols. Lab results. Asbestos confirmed in 12 of the salvaged barn timbers. No EPA notification, no air monitoring, no containment. They just ripped it apart and let it fly. Neighbors within 200 yards exposed, including 2 families with young children. Photos showed it. The contractor was Vivian's brother-in-law. She signed the work order. She knew. This isn't negligence. This is criminal environmental violation. Hector walked me through. Asbestos abatement requires licensed contractors, sealed containment. None happened. EPA can fine $25,000 per day, plus liability for health impacts. Can we file? Already drafted the complaint. You don't need a lawyer. EPA investigates 70% of credible asbestos complaints within 90 days. He handed me the folder, photos, labs, timeline. While evidence mounted, the community rallied. Dale organized a fundraiser at the church to rebuild Elaine's dream. 140 people showed up, not just from Ridgemont, from across the county. People who'd heard the story, dealt with their own HOA nightmares, wanted to help. They raised $68,000 in one night. I stood at the front of that church hall, surrounded by strangers who'd become allies, and felt something I hadn't since Elaine died, like I wasn't alone. This goes to a scholarship fund in Elaine's name for students studying architecture, I said. But Vivian made one last desperate play. She tried foreclosing on Iris, the 79-year-old widow who'd signed the fake complaint, $12,000 in unpaid fines. Iris's daughter called Mariana in tears. Mariana filed an emergency injunction. Judge halted it in 24 hours, but local news ran the story. HOA president targets 79-year-old widow. That night my phone buzzed. Text from Rex. Garrett just hired a criminal attorney. Good. Let him sweat. Kurt's paralegal found it on a Tuesday while doing routine property records research. A mechanic's lien filed 18 months ago against Ridgemont Estates HOA by Mountain Peak Paving Company. $127,000. Kurt called immediately. We got something. I drove to his office. He had the lien document spread out, yellow highlights everywhere. Validlia. They resurfaced all the roads. Vivian approved the work. Finished, invoiced, never paid. Where'd the money go? He slid over financial statements. Right here, road resurfacing project, $127,000 collected via special assessment. Every resident paid their share. Then 3 days later, the full amount transferred to Nevada LLC Ridgemont Management Services, owned by Vivian and Garrett Pritchard. The pattern was clear. Collect for legitimate work, transfer to shell company, leave contractor unpaid, pocket the difference. How long until they foreclose? Liens active 18 months. State law. After 2 years, they can foreclose on common property, clubhouse, pool gates. In 6 months, Ridgemont loses everything unless someone pays $127,000 plus interest, closer to $145 now. I sat back. This wasn't about my house anymore. This was Vivian systematically robbing her community, then covering it by attacking anyone who might notice. Give me a meeting with the paving company owner. Rick Delgado ran Mountain Peak paving out of shops smelling like asphalt and motor oil. 50-something, calloused hands, the kind of guy who'd built his business from nothing and took pride in honest work. Governor, he said, shaking my hand. Didn't expect to see you here. Call me Tobias. I need to ask about the Ridgemont job. His face hardened. Been trying to collect for a year and a half. That woman promised payment in 30 days, then stopped returning calls. I got a crew to pay, equipment, loans. That $127,000 could have kept me afloat. What if I told you I could get you paid in full within 60 days? He studied me. What's the catch? No catch. Attend an HOA town hall in 3 weeks. Bring your invoice, lien docs, tell your story to 340 homeowners. He extended his hand. I'm in. Back at Kurt's, we laid it out. Embezzlement, $180,000 self-dealing to family over 2 years. Theft, $127,000 road funds never paid. Civil rights violations, discriminatory enforcement against Lucia and others. Illegal demolition, no notice/hearing, state statute violations. Environmental crimes, asbestos exposure. Witness intimidation. Trailer vandalism. Garrett provable via footage/receipts. This isn't an HOA dispute anymore, Mariana said. This is organized fraud. How long until we take it to the FBI? We could go tomorrow, but I think we do this differently. Ow! She smiled. In public, in front of the entire community. Let everyone see who Vivian Pritchard is before the feds take her away. Kurt nodded. Quarterly town hall in 3 weeks. Vivian has to preside. It's in the bylaws. As a homeowner, even with your house gone, you still own the land. You have the right to attend and bring witnesses. We present everything. And invite the press, Mariana added. Make it impossible for her to spin. I thought about Elaine, what she would want. Not revenge. Justice, the kind that helps people. Set it up. Let's finish this the right way. Kurt rented a storage unit to organize evidence. Banker boxes, binders, timelines on poster boards like a prosecutor's war room. Trial lawyers call this the story spine. Kurt said, taping a flowchart. Villain does wrong. Hero uncovers truth. Justice happens. We're at step 2. We rehearsed scenarios. Mariana prepped witnesses. 18 plaintiffs in groups, teaching them to compress stories into 60 seconds. Facts, not feelings. Iris practiced until sharp. She threatened foreclosure over rose bushes 3 inches too tall. I measured with a ruler. Rick rehearsed. I paved your roads, invoiced $127,000, never got paid. She lied. Kurt explained records law. Any homeowner can request financials under state statute. Must comply in 10 days or face penalties. Most crooked boards bet nobody asks. You asked. Vivian fought it. A judge ordered compliance in 48 hours. When an HOA fights records requests, that's your red flag. Hector compiled his 40-page engineering report documenting violations. Asbestos in 12 timbers. No EPA notification. Families with kids exposed. This goes beyond lawsuits. EPA, Criminal Investigation Division territory. I filed a complaint online that afternoon. Photos, labs, timeline. Hit submit. Dale volunteered to live stream the town hall. 3 cameras. YouTube unlisted link shared with homeowners and press. Public meetings are public. Recording prevents he said, /she said, and violence. People behave when the world watches. My communications director briefed 3 journalists separately, each getting different angles. State newspaper on embezzlement/shell companies /stolen road funds. Denver TV on discrimination against Lucia/Iris intimidation/harassment patterns. National podcast on illegal demolition/EPA violations. By town hall night, they'll have done independent digging. They'll ask tough questions. The night before, I couldn't sleep. Walked the property at 3 a.m. Stood where the atrium used to be, found a shard of glass from a lane skylight. Pocketed it. Text from Mariana. Vivian emailed all homeowners. Meeting for homeowners only. No guests. No media. I called Kurt. She can't. Bylaw 7. 3. Homeowners may bring advisors and witnesses. Exclusion violates state law. He drafted a response, CC'd everyone. Per bylaws, homeowners may bring advisors. Exclusion is illegal. See you at 7. I requested a sheriff's deputy, not as governor, as concerned citizen wanting law enforcement at a contentious public meeting. Deputy Ramona Voss assigned. 15 years. No Garrett connection. Neutral. You're witnessing, not arresting. If law's broken, report. Understood. Morning of the meeting, Vivian emailed again. High interest tonight. Standing room only. Arrive early. Trying to pack the room with supporters, but I confirmed 26 plaintiffs. Rick, Hector, Mariana, Kurt, Iris all had legal right. 3 journalists confirmed parking positions. Dale texted at noon. Cameras set, tested, ready. 5 p.m. I drove to Ridgemont, parked outside the clubhouse. Watched homeowners arrive early, claiming seats. Phone buzzed. Kurt. Her attorney filed to postpone. Judge denied 10 minutes ago. Mariana. All witnesses confirmed. Rick bringing invoice. Chief of staff. Press gathering. This is big. Sun dropped behind mountains, sky turning fire orange. I thought about Elaine, her dream, justice that helps people. 6:45, I got out, walked toward the clubhouse. Inside, 120 folding chairs filled, fire code capacity. Vivian's podium at front, flanked by 2 board members. The other 2, never notified of demolition vote, conspicuously absent. Dale's cameras rolling. Live stream at 340 viewers. Every homeowner plus press. I sat in the back row with Mariana and Kurt. Lucia beside me. Her presence deliberate. 7 p.m. Vivian called to order. Read from script. Welcome neighbors. Tonight we celebrate another successful year. Reserve strong. Property values up 12%. PowerPoint. New clubhouse furniture. Repaved tennis courts. Holiday decorations. Slide 8. Expenditures. Legal defense $75,000. Murmurs rippled. Anonymous homeowner. Middle row. Defense against what? Vivian. Frivolous lawsuits from a disgruntled former resident. Same homeowner. You mean the governor whose house you demolished? Vivian flustered. That matter is in litigation. I can't discuss it. Kurt stood. Actually, you brought it up. Fair game now. Vivian's attorney whispered. Move on. But she couldn't help herself. The governor thinks he's above rules. Refused basic community standards. We had no choice. I didn't stand, didn't speak, just made eye contact. The room noticed. Phone started recording. Board member Phyllis suddenly spoke. Vivian, I need to say something. This isn't the time. I was never told about the demolition vote. I was in Arizona visiting my daughter. You told me it was emergency. It was. Then why does the governor's attorney have email showing you planned it 3 weeks in advance? The room exploded. Vivian banged the gavel. Order. We'll have order. But chaos now. Homeowners shouting questions. Phyllis still standing, holding the printed email like trial evidence. Her attorney. This meeting is adjourned. Kurt's voice cut through. You can't adjourn during homeowner challenge. State law requires addressing questions. Deputy Voss stepped forward from the back. Mom, I recommend continuing. Vivian sat down hard, voice shaking. Fine. Questions, one at a time. I stood, walked to the Q&A. Mike Dale's camera followed. Mrs. Pritchard, you've stated my property was demolished for failing to pay legitimate fines, correct? Yes. How much did I allegedly owe? She consulted notes. $38,600. And I refused to pay despite multiple notices. Correct. I turned to Kurt. He handed me a binder. I'd like to enter into the record copies of 19 cashier's checks totaling $34,200, each corresponding to fines you issued, each cashed by the HOA within 10 business days. Passed the binder to Phyllis. She flipped through, face draining. The remaining $4,400, what were those fines for? Vivian whispered to her attorney. You're not required to answer without documentation. I'll answer, I said. 404. Refusing to repaint after you change your mind. Refusing to remove wildflowers preventing erosion. Refusing to ban my housekeeper from my driveway. Refusing to remove a bird feeder you called visual clutter. All issued after your committee approved my plans. Kurt distributed packets, committee approval emails dated/signed, followed by Vivian's override notices. Homeowner reading aloud. This says committee approval is void because president disagrees. Can she do that? No, I said. Per bylaws, architectural committee decisions are final unless overridden by full board vote. That never happened. Vivian's voice rose. You're twisting facts. You were a problem from day one. You and your staff, your guests. You turned this community into a circus. My staff? You mean Lucia? I didn't say that. You wrote it. I nodded to Mariana. She projected an email. Kendrick's domestic staff is a security risk. We need documentation of her legal status. Lucia stood, voice shaking but clear. I'm a United States citizen born in El Paso, Texas. You asked for my papers 4 times. Never asked anyone else. Vivian stammered. I was protecting the community from what? A woman who cleans houses. Silence. Several phones recording. Let's talk money, I said. Where did the $127,000 for road resurfacing go? There was a budget shortfall. Rick Delgado stood. I paved your roads June 2 years ago. Invoiced $127,000. Never got paid. I have a lien on this property. If unpaid in 30 days, I can foreclose on the clubhouse. Gasps rippled. Homeowner shouted. We paid for that special assessment. Another. I paid $1,800. Kurt stood. The money was collected, then transferred to Nevada LLC Ridgemont Management Services, owned by Vivian and Garrett Pritchard. That's embezzlement. Vivian's attorney went pale. This meeting is over. My client won't be interrogated. Deputy Voss, sir, sit down. The governor's a homeowner. He has right to ask questions. One more question, I said. When did you decide to demolish my house? After you refused to comply. After I was elected governor. That's irrelevant. Mariana projected another email. This is from you to your attorney 11 months ago. Kendrick is running for governor. If he wins, we need him out. Find a reason. Explain that. Vivian stood shaking. You're taking that out of context. What context? You planned this a year in advance. Targeted me for my political career. Demolished my home, my late wife's legacy, while I was serving this state. For hours' notice. Violating state law, federal EPA regulations, and basic human decency. Vivian screaming now, you don't belong here. You never did. You and your people think you can just move in. Garrett grabbed her arm. She stopped but couldn't. This was our community. We built it. We kept it safe. And then people like you, Phyllis stood. Vivian, sit down. You're done. Vivian collapsed in her chair, sobbing. Deputy Voss spoke in her radio. Dispatch, need a detective at Ridgemont Estates Clubhouse. Possible financial crimes. Livestream viewer count hit 1,200. I looked at the room. 300 faces, some angry, some shocked, some relieved. I'm not here for revenge, I said quietly. I'm here because no one should go through what I did. No one should be targeted like Lucia was. This ends tonight. The room stayed silent for 5 seconds. Then chaos. 3 news crews burst through the doors. Cameras, lights, microphones hunting quotes. Channel 7 anchor shoved a mic at Vivian. Mrs. Pritchard, did you embezzle HOA funds? Her attorney blocked. No comment. Podcast host corner Garrett. Sir, did you vandalize the governor's trailer? Garrett pushed past without answering. The real explosion was homeowners. People who'd stayed quiet for years, suddenly standing, shouting, you fined me $6,000 for a fence you approved. My daughter's Honda. You called it commercial. Where's my road paving money? Vivian grabbed her purse, tried leaving. Phyllis blocked the door. You're not going anywhere. We're voting now. Emergency vote to remove you as president, effective immediately. Leonard stood. Seconded. All in favor. Hands raised. Motion carries. Vivian's face went white. This is illegal. You need full board. The full board wasn't told about demolishing a $4 million home, Phyllis said. We'll sort legality later. Right now, leave. Garrett pulled Vivian toward the exit. She was screaming. You'll regret this. I gave 9 years. Door schlemmed. Escalade taillights disappeared into darkness. The room exhaled. Deputy Voss stepped forward. Folks, I need statements. Anyone with knowledge of financial irregularities, discrimination, or property damage, stay after. Hands shot up, 20, 30, 40 people. Rick raised his. Iris. Lucia. Journalists swarm homeowners getting quotes, building stories. Podcast host found me. Governor, what happens legally now? The system works, I said. We filed civil suits. State Attorney General investigating embezzlement. EPA reviewing asbestos complaints. Deputy Voss taking statements for criminal charges. Will Vivian Pritchard face prison? That's for prosecutors and juries. Behind me, Mariana organized statement givers into groups. Kurt photographed everything. Dale's live stream. 2,800 viewers. Comments flooding. This is accountability. Finally, someone stood up. That you people moment. She buried herself. My HOA does this. Where do I start? That last one stopped me. Kurt, can we make a resource guide? How to request records, file complaints, organize against corrupt boards. Already started, making it free and public. Outside, mountain night was cold and clear, stars everywhere. I stood in the parking lot where homeowners had arrived hours ago, anxious, uncertain. They'd left empowered. Phone buzzed. Unknown number. Governor, this is Carla Mendez. We met at the festival. Remember our water supply issue? Can we talk? 32 kids sick. State says safe. It's not. I stared at the message. Another fight. Another corrupt system. Another person who thought they were untouchable. I typed, tomorrow, 10 a.m., my office. Bring everything. Mariana looked over my shoulder. You're not done, are you? Just getting started? Kurt locked the clubhouse behind us. For what it's worth, Elaine would be proud. I looked back at the building, scene of Vivian's downfall. Tomorrow it would be just a clubhouse again. But tonight it had been a courtroom where truth won. Yeah, I said. She would be. We drove down the mountain in convoy. Kurt's pickup, Mariana's sedan, my truck, headlights cutting through pine darkness. Behind us, Ridgemont Estates slept peaceful for the first time in 9 years. Ahead, more work waited, criminal trials, federal investigations, 32 kids who needed clean water. But tonight we'd won, and tomorrow we'd win again. The arrests came 6 days later. I was in my office reviewing Carla's water contamination files when my chief of staff knocked. Tobias, turn on channel 7. I pulled up the live stream. Vivian's house, 2 FBI vehicles in the driveway. Agents in windbreakers walking out with boxes. Anchor. Breaking news from Ridgemont Estates. FBI executing search warrants at the home of former HOA President Vivian Pritchard. Sources say related to embezzlement and wire fraud involving HOA funds. Phone lit up. Kurt, it's happening. Mariana, FBI just called. They want our evidence files. Rex, Garrett's in custody. Federal courthouse. Got him at 6. I watched the screen. Vivian let out in handcuffs. No turquoise jewelry today. No sunglasses. Just a woman who'd finally run out of places to hide. Formal charges came 3 days later. Federal wire fraud, embezzlement, civil rights violations, witness intimidation. EPA added criminal environmental violations for asbestos exposure. Vivian's bail, $500,000. Garrett's, $250,000. They couldn't make it. Spent 2 weeks in federal custody before Vivian's daughter mortgaged her house to post bond. The real victory came in civil court. Kurt and Mariana filed a consolidated lawsuit. My wrongful demolition, class action from 26 homeowners. Rick's lien. HOA's insurance carrier took one look at the evidence and settled within 30 days. $1. $2 million total. My share, $400,000. Enough to rebuild with money left for Elaine's scholarship fund. The 26 homeowners averaged $67,000 each. Years of illegal fines refunded with interest. Rick got $145,000 plus fees, paid off equipment loans, gave his crew bonuses, cried when the check cleared. Iris used hers to pay off her mortgage and donated $15,000 to the local food bank. Ridgemont Estates transformed. Phyllis called an emergency election. New board voted in by landslide. First order, new bylaws, transparent financials posted online monthly, no fines over $500 without hearing, mandatory third-party audits annually, 2/3 vote for demolition/foreclosure. The Attorney General asked me to testify before the state legislature on HOA reform. I sat in the Capitol building where I'd been sworn in as governor 4 months earlier. Now as a witness, just a homeowner who'd been wronged. The current system allows HOA boards almost no oversight. They can fine, foreclose, demolish with minimal due process. My case got attention because I'm governor. But thousands of homeowners across this state deal with the same abuse. They don't have lawyers on speed dial or media connections. They suffer in silence. I presented Kurt's resource guide, simple instructions for requesting records, filing complaints, organizing. Make this available on the state website. Free, accessible. Let homeowners know they have rights. The bill passed 38-12 in the Senate, 67-8 in the House. The Homeowner Protection Act required 60 days written notice before lien/foreclosure, mandatory mediation before legal action, capped fines at $1,000 per violation, made self-dealing by HOA officers a felony, up to 5 years prison. I signed it at a ceremony in the Ridgemont Clubhouse. Iris stood beside me. So did Rick. So did Lucia. When I finished, I handed the pen to Iris. This is for everyone who is afraid to speak up. She held it like it was precious. My granddaughter's going to college to study law because of what she saw here, because she saw fighting back works. Within 6 months, 12 other states adopted similar legislation. Vivian's criminal trial was set for spring. Her attorney tried every delay, all failed. In the meantime, I focused on rebuilding, not the mansion, something different. I hired a young local architect who reminded me of Elaine. Showed her the salvaged timbers, sketches, surviving design journal. I want something smaller, 2,400 square feet, sustainable, using as much of her original materials as possible. What's the purpose? It's not a monument anymore. It's just home. We built it over 9 months, local contractors. Rick did the driveway. Hector consulted. Dale helped with electrical. The grand opening was a community event, 200 people, music, food trucks, kids running around the property that used to be just mine, but now felt like it belonged to everyone who'd fought. I stood on the deck watching the sun set over the Continental Divide. Same view Elaine sketched from her hospital bed. Different house, same dream. Lucia brought me coffee. She worked for me full-time now, executive residence manager, state position with benefits. Miss Elaine would like this, she said. Yeah, I said. She would. My phone buzzed. Text from Mariana. Vivian pleaded guilty. Federal prosecutor just called. 8 years, no parole. I showed Lucia. Is it over? For Vivian. For us, we're just getting started. Vivian pleaded guilty to federal wire fraud, embezzlement, civil rights violations 6 months after the town hall. Took a deal to avoid trial. 8 years federal prison. Garrett got 18 months for witness intimidation and destruction of property. Sentencing was quiet. No media circus. Just a federal courtroom. Tired judge. 2 people who'd thought they were untouchable learning they weren't. I didn't attend. Justice doesn't require an audience. The biggest change was Ridgemont itself. New board, new culture. Phyllis served as president 2 years, then stepped down. Board meetings went from confrontations to community building. 0 foreclosures since 2024, 0 demolitions, 0 discriminatory enforcement. The scholarship fund grew from $68,000 church fundraiser plus my settlement plus donations from strangers who'd watched the live stream. First year, 8 students, architecture majors, first-generation college kids, exactly who Elaine would have chosen. One recipient was a young woman from El Paso designing affordable housing. She sent a thank you note with a sketch attached, a small home with big windows catching light. Your wife would have loved this, she wrote. I framed it. I placed a conservation easement, 2 of my 3 acres permanently protected, never subdivided, never overdeveloped. Opened a public hiking trail through the property, like Elaine always wanted. Some weekends I see families walking it, kids pointing at birds, couples holding hands. That's what she'd wanted, not a monument. A place that gave something back. The annual Mountain Community Day became tradition. Every September, local artisans, food trucks, live music, kids' activities. First year, 900 people. Second year, 1,500. Raised funds for the HOA legal defense nonprofit Kurt and Mariana launched, helping homeowners across the state fight corrupt boards. At the second festival, I met Carla Mendez. She'd brought her son, one of the 32 kids sick from contaminated water. We'd spent a year fighting the fracking company, state regulators who'd looked away, lawyers who thought small-town families couldn't win. We won. Settlement included water filtration for the town, medical monitoring for affected children, criminal charges pending against 3 executives. Governor, Carla said, her son playing on the lawn, you gave us hope. Showed us the system could work if someone cared enough to fight. The system works when we force it to, I said. You did the fighting. I just knew which doors to knock on. As sun set over the mountains, I walked back to my house. The smaller one, sustainable, built from Elaine's salvaged timber and new dreams. Lucia was on the deck watering the native wildflowers we'd planted, the ones Vivian once fined me for. Now, they covered the slope in purple and gold every summer. Good day, she asked. Good year, I said. Inside, walls held photos, Elaine and me on our wedding day, original mansion mid-construction, the rubble, the rebuild, new ones. Iris at the bill signing, Rick cutting ribbon on his expanded business, scholarship recipients at graduation. A story told in images, destruction and rebuilding, loss and justice. My phone buzzed. Email for National Governors Association. They wanted me to speak at their conference about HOA reform. 12 states had adopted versions of the Homeowner Protection Act. 15 more considering it. What started as personal tragedy had become a movement. I thought about responding, then saw the time, 8 p.m. late. Tomorrow. There was always tomorrow for more work. Tonight, I poured whiskey, sat on the deck, listened to wine through the steel and glass panels, the mountain's breath, just like Elaine designed. Somewhere in federal prison, Vivian was learning power without accountability doesn't last. Somewhere in Ridgemont, families lived without fear. Somewhere across the country, homeowners were requesting records, filing complaints, standing up to tyrants with gavels. And here on this mountain, in this house built from grief and justice and stubborn hope, I was home. Not the home Elaine sketched, but better. Because it wasn't just mine anymore. It belonged to everyone who'd fought beside me. Everyone who'd learned systems only work when people demand they do. If you've ever dealt with an HOA nightmare, or any petty tyrant who thought they were untouchable, drop your story in the comments. Let's shine light on this. And if you want to see what happened with Carla and that fracking company, hit subscribe. Because we're just getting started. The fight for justice never really ends, but damn, does it feel good to win.